going back to the whole like birth control thing, right? So when I was in university, they showed us some kind of documentary about how they used to sterilize our First Nations women. Like they would go in for like a common cough or cold, and they would come out like de-sterilized, right? Yeah. So I found that so interesting because I'm like, so because again, you know, birth control is free for us under our treaty rights because we get all these free things, right? But even then, the way that I look at it now is like, wow, I was actually like de-sterilizing myself, thinking that this was like a benefit to me, and it's just absurd to me. And so Aretha has done a documentary on the 60 scoop. Yeah. And, you know, we got to talk about this then, and it was triggered in me then, realizing, holy smokes, you know, one of our, you know, as a woman, as an Indigenous woman, matriarchy, you know, our one of the biggest things about us is that we are able to create and to bring life, right? We are the vessel from the spirit life into this life. Yeah. And to have cheated myself out of that experience, it's just like, again, coming back to the whole like motherless, is it childless mother? So
motherless child.
Yeah. No. So, yeah, isn't it?
No, childless mother.
Yeah. So again, it's just like, okay, not only, you know, were there systematic approaches to, I also adopted this worldview as like, this is something that was going to, so yes, it did benefit me in a lot of ways where I'm able to, you know, have the career and all the different things, but now being on this side of it, it's like, wow, you know, like, what do we do with that, you know?
I mean, it's hard for me too, because like I'm at this stage where I'm like, okay, do I just have a child by myself and attempt it? Because I that's where I'm at now. And I have an appointment with the fertility clinic to go like just talk about it. What are my options? How much is it going to cost? What do I need? And I'm still like not even on the fence if I want to go through with it or not, because I'm more and more becoming comfortable. And I feel like if this is something that I'm not going to go forward with, what then am I going to do with my life that's going to make it justifiable for not doing this? Like, right. I feel like I need to give more back. I feel like I need to
freeze my eggs or not to freeze. That's going to be the thing.
or like, okay, if I'm not going to like birth and give birth to my own children and do that, like then what then can I do to contribute to society if I'm not going to have my own children?
Yeah, it's so many things. It's like a big thing because it's like, hey, who's going to carry on my legacy? Who's going to, you know, who am I going to leave all of this to, if you will, right? Yeah. It's like, and people say that is like the most special experience you're ever going to have, and that bond, that feeling is like, so I'm like, I want that, you know, but it's like, I just don't know, you know? It's like, it's too many things. It's like...
And I think if I was in a relationship where it was like, fine, let's just roll the dice and see what happens. Then I would say, okay, like, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, I would be okay with that. But I'm not even in a relationship. Well, and I've never really had, as an adult, I've never had a serious relationship. I've dated as a teenager. But at that point in my life, after I was a teenager, I went on dates, but I never actually was on a like actual committed relationship with anyone as an adult.
See, and I'm like opposite. Like I am a serial, is it a monogamous?
Monogamous.
Yeah. So like I've been engaged 3 times before I met my husband, and he specifically like gave me a wedding band. Because he's like, I'm not going to be engaged to you because you've been engaged before. I'm marrying you, right? And I'm like, okay, but God know what he wants, you know? But again, you know, even that, you know, it's hard being in relationships, and, you know, we are separated, so that should tell you something, you know? But I want a husband, and I want to have a home, and I want to have, you know, I want to have a perfect fairy tale experience. And then I have somebody like my mom being like, Jerry, you know, you don't have to have a boyfriend to have a child. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of want that, you know, like, it's like,
I don't want to do it by myself. Like, I think that's the part. Like, I want a partner. I want someone to have a child with and share the experience with. I kind of don't want to do it by myself, but I'm kind of stuck in this place of, is this the only option that I have at this moment?
Yeah.
And I hate not having options.
Well, and the thing is like, it's almost time. Like, you need to like do this soon, you know, like people say, oh, you're biological. It's for real. Like, we are at the precipice of, are you going to do it or not? Because it's getting, thin.
Yeah. And as women, like, men can have, like, children way, like, what is Mick Jagger still having children now? Like, my goodness. But women, like, you're born with all the eggs that you're going to have, like, the moment you were born. So it depends on when you also start, like, having your period. Like, if it's sooner than later, then, your time is running out. And that's why they say, like, you should also know when your mother went into menopause, because that will be a good indicator when you will start menopause. And so, yeah, it's like, there's so many things, so many complicated things that it's like, I don't know.
See, well, and I mean, the thing too is, like, a lot of people may or may not know about me that I did lose 2 children. So the first one was 3 months, and that was just, people say, oh, after 3 months you're in the clear, you're safe, right? Is it 3 months or 5 months?
It's 3 months.
3 months.
Or 10 weeks. Or
yeah, so the second one, I was 5 months pregnant, just literally a week, 5 months and a week, and I'm like, whew, I have nothing to worry about, right?
Yeah.
And then I had placenta problems. Like, who knew you could have all this right?
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was the placenta, that the baby is in the, it wasn't growing fast enough for the baby to be able to grow inside of it. So he wasn't getting his nutrients, all that type of stuff. And we ended up making the decision to pull him out. So there was, like, you can leave him in with a chance that he's going to pass away, or you can bring him out with the fact that, he's going to have a lot of challenges, right? So to me, in my mind, I'm like, I would rather him feel loved, and and so my husband was like, no, we got to do everything we can, right? So we did, and he was born on Valentine's Day and passed the next day because he had like some bleeding in his brain or something. So, like, traumatic experiences, and I'm like, is this what I gotta go through to, like, have all that? Like, it's scary.
It is. So my family has always been very protective of me, and this has been a common theme in my life. So my mom had miscarriages before. She had 2 miscarriages, and then she had my 2 brothers, and then all she wanted in life was a girl. That's all she wanted, and so she finally got her girl. And 3 days before her due date, she strangled on the umbilical cord and died.
Wow.
And so my mom was distraught. My whole family was distraught. My brothers are a little bit older than me, so they, were around when this happened. And my dad was like, "No, let's just tie our tubes. Let's just be happy. We have 2 sons. Let's just be happy. Let's stop." And my mom always tells me the story of how she turned to my dad and was like, "Nope. I'm going to have a girl, and you're going to give me a girl, and if you don't give me a girl, I'm going to go find someone who will." And apparently he works good under pressure, because I was literally born a year later. Her birthday would have been like March 28th, and mine's March 10th, year later, and actually was born in the same hospital, and my mom was in the same bed.
Wow.
Yeah, and so for me, like, I grew up knowing that I was my mom's greatest achievement almost, because she, like, willed me into life. And so my mom kind of was really overprotective of me. My brothers were overprotective of me because they were old enough to remember the loss. My father, I'm the youngest, I'm the only girl, like, so they were very, like, very overprotective of me. And so I was very aware of this my whole life. And knowing those kind of things, I'm like, I don't know if I would survive that. I still don't know how. My mom is still pretty, like, yeah, that was pretty traumatic event for her.
Absolutely. And I mean, the other thing too, like, to kind of talk about, that whole thing, was, so people don't think about this, is, like, your blood type has a lot to do with things. Like, my husband, I have the most rarest type of blood, which is like O positive or O negative, whatever it is. And my husband is the opposite, which is, so if I'm O positive, he's O negative. And so when you have a positive and negative, it, like,
cancels each other out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's also something to keep in mind.
And you get antibodies, because I'm O positive too.
Okay. I'm like, hey, sister.
we had a car ride, and that's when we talking about this topic, and we talked about it for a long time, because we're, out of our group, we're the only ones who don't have children. We're both not dating anyone, and we're not in relationships with people. And we just kept talking about how we have a lot of similarities, about how we are, and now we're at the same point.
Like how deeper can you go, you know?
At least I can give you blood if you need.
True that.
Be like, I know someone.
Let's fast forward 5 years.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you the question. Did you go through with it or did you not? And how are you going to feel?
5 years. So at this point, I'm getting information. I'm going to go through with it because there's also no guarantee it's going to work. Mm-hmm. And so at least at the end of the 5 years, if it doesn't work, I can say I tried. And so at least that way, you know what I mean? It's like no regrets. Like, mm-hmm. I should have tried when I had the chance, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's definitely other things that I have to do prior to this meeting that I've already looked into that I need to work on. Like your BMI has to be at a certain point, and mine's not there yet, so I would have to lose like 60 pounds. So that's something I'm definitely working on. And
that's just for like the actual like medical procedure. So if you met like Mr. Right tomorrow and you're like, you know?
Yes, yeah. If I met Mr. Right and they were like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do this, I'd be like, sure, let's do it. But that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, we're going to have to do another video on that one next time. Let us know if you want that, first of all. Yeah. So yeah.
And you? What you?
5, definitely. Like I see 2 kids running around in the yard with the white picket fence, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe not a white picket fence, maybe like just a yard, you know, maybe on the beach or in the woods somewhere, who knows? Depending on my mood.
In a traveling van?
In a traveling tin can.
In a tin can?
Tin can. Yeah, absolutely, you know, the whole kangaroo pouch, baby, little, yeah, I see that for myself, absolutely.
I think more and more that I get older too, because I think we have this perception that like, you need to be at home, you need to have stability, you need to have all these things. And those things are great. But I've also met a lot of women that are like, they take their kids everywhere with them. Mm-hmm. They just strap them on and go hiking, whatever, mm-hmm. you know, go traveling. They just...
See, well, and that's the thing, because I mean, again, mm-hmm. I'm finding a lot of this question coming up, why have you waited so long? Mm-hmm. And like, I want to be present, right? Like, that's very important to me, is like to really build a person, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that responsibility is like the greatest responsibility of all. Yeah. And I don't feel like I have been even anywhere close to being like, I can do this thing, right? So to me, it's a big thing. Whereas, you know, and people say like, you're never ready to have kids, you know? But for myself, like the integrity of my word and who I am, I'm like, I need to fix all this before, you know?
Yeah.
Do you feel that as well?
I mean, I do because I think sometimes I can be pretty selfish and like, I just want to laze around and do nothing. Like I do have a dog that I technically take care of, but I also get a lot of help even with my dog. If I'm not home on time and they need to be out or like fed, you know, I can call someone from my house. Or call my mom and be like, hey, can you feed my dog? Can you let the dog out? Can you whatever? And even when I've traveled and didn't want to like, wasn't too sure if she'd be taken care of very well, I would have like, my friends would like keep her for like a week when I was like traveling too. So mm-hmm. I guess it really depends. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like absolutely. I feel like, you know, what do they say? It's like knowledge is power, but it's kind of like in our case, it's like, no, just throw me in the woods and drop me with a child, that's mine, and we'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah. I'll be definitely committed to it. I definitely would give it everything I've got.
Might be a feral child, just saying, just because of my background, but they're going to be strong and resilient and, you know, disciplined.
A hard-working feminist advocate.
Yes, rebellious, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think, you know, it's important for women like us to have these kind of conversations mm-hmm. And to bring these things to the forefront, because one of the things that I've dealt with a lot is like, do the women feel sorry for me? Like the women who have children, like, do they look at me secretly and like think, wow, she's missing out on something? And like, I think of like, I'm so self-reflective, it's like bad. And I'm like, they're pitying me, you know? But beyond all of that, like I want to have a fighting chance at that as well, you know? Because I feel like it's important, and, you know, I deserve that, you know?
And I think on the same things, like, I don't know about your mom, but my mom, like, she is so committed to helping me have a baby. And she really wants this for me. And her biggest thing, and this is her guilt trip to me, is when she dies, she doesn't want me to be lonely. And I'm like, who says I was going to be lonely? Like, who knows? Maybe I'll open up like a dog sanctuary, dog and cat sanctuary, and just adopt a whole bunch of dogs, senior dogs or something. Like, I don't know. Like, who says I would be lonely? But me and my mom are very close, and I think that's what keeps her up at night. But I also think she wants. I think her investment into me having a baby is, I wouldn't say more, maybe tiny little bit more than me. Like, I don't know. I think it's just because she just thinks, well, she's a mother, so she knows what it's like. But yeah, sometimes I think, like, why is she so wholeheartedly invested? It has to be more than just not wanting to see me lonely when she goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, my mom is the same. She's like, okay, Ger, you know, like, you're lonely now, you know? And I'm like, there is, like, a void, right? Like, but that void is like, okay, I gotta love me first, right? And for me, like, it's been up until now, like, a resentful thing. Like, oh, I gotta give up all this stuff. You know, like that selfishness factor that I struggle with. And it's like, I gotta stop this and I gotta do that and I gotta eat healthy. I'm like, girl, why? Like, my baby gonna like chips too? Like, come on. You know? But,
and I think I would do that. Like, if I found out, like, I was pregnant tomorrow, I would be like organic. I would be like a temple.
like, I can't do that now, girl. Like, no.
But yeah, I think it's good to have conversations like this with your friends, and I think we talked about it too, just because you don't realize how much you have in common with someone, and especially the pressures you have and all the other things. And it's good to have those conversations with someone who can relate to your situation, because we're both Indigenous, because we've both grown up with these situations where, you know, like, finding a partner is not as easy as it looks, because you have all these things stacked up against you. You have all these stereotypes against you. You have all these, you know, situations where it just seems like you're constantly, if it was just meeting another person, it would be so easy. But there's all these additional barriers that are happening. And, like, it's not even just perceived barriers. They're real. There's whole reports based on them. There's so many situations where it's like, this is an actual real thing. And so, I don't know, like, even growing up, like, when I was 11, people always thought I was, like, in my 20s. And they would, like, catcall me and, like, over-sexualize me already at, like, 11 years old. And because I always was tall for my age, about 13, I just kind of stopped growing. But I was always really tall for my age until I got to about 13. And so for me, it was like, I was always growing up in this world where I had to be very cautious of not being too overly sexual, not putting myself out there in a way that could make me a target.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's not, like the relationship thing too. It's like, okay, well, you know, a lot of people I see now are co-parenting. There's a lot of, you know, divorces going on, separations. And even not even marriages, but there's a lot of fatherless homes, you know, and like, what does that do? That is so imperative to, like, so many things that a woman needs, a girl needs, you know, and if you don't have those, and, like, to me, again, because I know all of the effects of those things, having a partner that is willing and able and sees those things and wants to do that work with, like, we're building something, bro. Like, this is gonna be my legacy. This is gonna be something that is gonna, you know, oh, your mother was like this, and, you know, like, I want all of those things, but it's a hard task to not only have yourself sorted out, but to have your partner sorted them, you know, and it's like to come together and be like, oh, let's just do this thing, this great, amazing thing. Like, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So we both want kids.
I guess.
5 years, people. Check in with us, see if we have kids. I mean.
Yeah. And if you want us to talk about dating, because that's a whole different like ball game.
Say yes. Yeah, we would love to do that for you guys. So happy that you guys are following us, you are liking our page, you're subscribing. Share this with people who may, have these kind of conversations going on, because it's important for us to share and support each other. And we're women, so we are only as effective as we are in sharing and supporting each other. So let's do a lot more of that and share love and spread that wherever we go. So with that, do you have any final words?
Nope, I think you got it all.
Beautiful. We'll see you in the next one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.